So you're probably thinking, what is it that judges are looking for in a winning tourism award submission? And there's a couple of key takeouts that I'd like to bring to your attention. Judges are looking for a financially sound and well-managed business. So they're looking to see that you're going to be around in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, 5 years' time. They're wanting to see that your business is sustainable. This is not about you turning over $1 million. So it's not about the size or the revenue that you're turning over. What they're looking to understand is what you are delivering sustainable and is it well managed? Judges are also looking to see that you're strategic in your approach to business. So they like to understand that if an opportunity has come your way, how have you actually understood that? How have you capitalised on it and how have you leveraged that? So for example, if you had some backpackers that started coming through your tourism accommodation business and you thought, oh, this is a bit of an interesting market. What the judges would like to see is that you've then gone away and done some analysis into the backpacker market to actually decide whether that is a market that you need to pursue. So show that you are strategic in your approach to business planning and that you're thinking ahead in terms of where you're actually looking to go. Judges are also looking for flair and innovation. We love new ideas. We love great opportunities. We love quirky little things. So be thinking about, what do you do that is different in your business? I remember many years ago learning from a tourism award entrant about a trick that they used in creating firelighters in their business. They were a bed and breakfast that actually had self-contained cottages and open fires. What they discovered very quickly was that people that came out from Sydney didn't know how to run combustion fires, and they were going through a lot of firelighters each year. Now, the couple that actually owned this business used to drink lots of tea. So they actually collected their tea bags, dried them out, then soaked them in kerosene and used them as homemade firelighters. Now, what a fantastic innovation. This innovation was about reusing and recycling, but it also had a direct impact on their bottom line. Whilst they may have only spent $100 a year on firelighters, $100 in small business can actually make a difference. So when we're talking about flair and innovation, tell us about those really interesting little things that you do in your business to make your business unique and set yourself apart in terms of your business operations. We're also looking to understand that you understand the marketplace within which you operate and the industry within which you operate. So if you benchmark against other businesses, like-minded businesses, tell us about how you're going. For example, if you're a tourist park and you work with a number of other tourist parks in your area, we would love to understand, how do you operate in that competitive set? Do you understand where you're positioned? Can you secure industry information from your industry associations that tell you where other businesses in your sector are sitting? This might be in relation to occupancy rates. It might be in relation to wages to food ratios if you're in restaurants and catering. It could be in anything. But what we like to understand is that you know what's going on in your marketplace and what's going on in your industry sector, and you understand how you're performing in relation to that. But don't assume anything. Don't assume that we as judges know what your industry sector is doing. You need to tell us, and it's important there to quote statistical data. Judges are also looking for measurable goals and outcomes. If there is one tip that you receive from this presentation, I hope that it is, you must create measurable goals and measurable outcomes. Judges are looking for more than just words. They're looking for you to quantify the benefits from what you have done across all aspects of your business. So you must measure, 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 measure. Always include numbers. And one way to think about this is every time you write something, think, so what? What does that actually mean? For example, If I was to say, we provide fantastic customer service, we could say, so what? We all provide fantastic customer service, don't we? But if we were to rephrase that and say, we provide fantastic customer service which can be demonstrated by a 50% repeat customer rate, now it really means something. So remember, judges are looking for you to measure the impacts of your business across all of the different criteria that you'll be assessed on in your awards submission. Now, one thing that cannot be underestimated in terms of your awards submission is passion and enthusiasm. We want to know why you do what you do, why you love the business that you're in. We often work long hours, we work weekends, we work nights, and the judges want to understand what drives you in your commitment to tourism excellence. So tell us the stories, give us the personality. Judges don't want to be reading a textbook. They want to be reading a submission that is engaging, that uses humour, that provides stories, and makes us feel akin to what we're reading. So inject your passion, inject your enthusiasm into your document, as it's so important for the judge to get a feel for what you do. At a practical level, judges enjoy reading submissions that are logical and easy to read. So when you're thinking about your formatting, make sure that you use simple headings. Techniques like rewriting the question before you write your answer, using dot points, using bold and underlining to highlight key points are important techniques in actually creating an easy and logical submission to read. So to summarise, judges will score well for the following reasons. Judges are looking for logical and succinct answers. We're looking for charts and diagrams that explain an issue at a glance. So think about, for example, if you're asked to describe your target markets, you could write for half a page or a full page on who your target markets are, but you could also use a pie chart to actually demonstrate with percentages and with colours who your different target audiences are. So at a glance, the judge can see, okay, that's who the target markets are for that business, as opposed to reading an entire page of copy. We're also looking for pictures, but pictures that tell a story. Make sure that they are relevant to the information that you are providing, and I would suggest that you try and include either a diagram or a chart or a picture, at least on every second page, if possible, every page. We will score you well for great ideas and innovation, and we will also score well where you provide case studies or quotes that will back up a claim that you have made. And remember, back to that measurable data, judges will score you well when you include numbers. So remember to measure everything that you're doing. Where you may lose points is if your entry is hard to read. It makes it really difficult for judges to score each question if there is no logical sequence to the way you are actually answering the submission. Meandering answers and waffly answers where you lose the judges are also very difficult for us to assess well. So try and use those techniques that I mentioned earlier, like dot points, underlining or highlighting keywords, even things like subheadings, to make your information easier for the judge to digest. If you miss a question or part of a question, we literally cannot score you on it. So I encourage you to attempt all questions within your category. It's also very easy for us as judges to identify when the coffee pot ran out. It may be around 3 a.m, but we can tell when those great submissions that start off so well lose steam. Now, for those of you that have entered the awards before, or for those of you that are new entrants and maybe have looked at your category information, you will see that there are 5 main questions to answer. Typically what we do when we're writing our submission is we start at question 1 and we work our way through to question 5. What tends to happen is we rush. We run out of time, we leave it till the last minute, And when we get to question 3, we've been doing really, really well, but question 4 and 5 are dismal, purely because we have A, run out of time, and B, we've actually run out of space. So I suggest to you, mix it up a little bit. Maybe start writing question 4 and 5 first. And the reason for this is that often these questions are scored poorly because people rush them and they run out of time. So try and take advantage of that fact and maybe mix up your responses. Start question 4 and 5 first, okay? And then go back to question 1, 2 and 3. It's very important before you start writing your submission that you plan your submission. And there are a couple of key factors to consider in actually planning your submission. And one of those is who are the knowledge holders in your organisation. It may be that you have a marketing consultant that you work with and you need to talk to that person to find out information to answer the marketing questions. Likewise, often maintenance employees are the best people to talk to in relation to your responsible tourism questions. That might be related to energy efficiency, water efficiency, or waste efficiencies. It could be for work health and safety and risk management that you need to talk to your solicitor to get some information from them. So in planning to write your submission, it's really important to think about who you need to involve in the process. It may not just be you, or it may just be you. So get that list going and start thinking about the types of questions that you need to actually ask those people. In planning your submission, if you are a larger organisation, it can also be a wonderful opportunity to provide this as a project to one of your team members. They can become the champion for the awards program, and it might be the one time each year that they get to chase you, the boss, up. What I suggest is you create a flow chart for each question. This will take you through a step-by-step approach to answering each question thoroughly. I will talk you through in a moment some of the key steps within that, but as a summary, what we're looking at doing is making sure that you actually read the question. Now you might think, what am I talking about? But when you think about how we read these days, we tend to skim information. We don't necessarily read every word. And when we're answering our awards questions, we really need to make sure we understand clearly what the question is asking us. For example, if I ask you to describe something, I'm asking you to paint a picture with words. I'm asking you to use lots of language, lots of descriptions, and give me lots of information so I get a picture in my mind what you're talking about. If I asked you to demonstrate something, I'm asking you to show me. Okay? I'm asking you to use examples. I'm asking you to use statistical information. So I'm asking you to provide more nuts and bolts in relation to answering the question. Now those two words are words that you will see a lot when you're answering your awards questions, because you'll always be asked to describe something and or demonstrate something. So when we go back to our flowchart, it's very important that you read the question. In clearly understanding what the question is asking, the next step in your flowchart is actually to highlight any key words. So literally get your highlighter out and highlight those. Okay? Look for what is this question asking me to answer. It might be that you underline it, it might be that you circle it, but make sure you go through and highlight those key words. The next step is brainstorming responses, and brainstorming is about doing a mind dump. It's coming up with a whole set of random ideas that don't necessarily have any logical order, but what we're wanting you to do is put that information down just on paper, okay, with no thought in relation to a process or a priority list. Just brainstorm that information. The next step is brainstorming again. So you want to keep coming up with new ideas. I suggest that you involve your team. They're a great resource in terms of often seeing things that we don't see when we're running our businesses. They're often involved in the day-to-day operational tasks, which maybe they don't see as being important, but we see as important. So I think it's very important to your awards process that you involve your team in brainstorming ideas. Only then, once you have brainstormed and prioritised, do you actually start writing your draft question. Once you've written your draft question, I suggest you sleep on it. Leave it for a couple of days before coming back to it, and then reread it. It's amazing what a good night's sleep will actually show you when you read your question or your response the next day. I suggest also having it reviewed by somebody outside of your business, okay, or somebody outside of the submission process, because they'll be able to clarify if you're being clear in what you're trying to communicate. Sometimes we are too close to our business and we don't necessarily communicate our strengths as well as we could. So have somebody else, have a third person that is impartial to your business, review your questions before finalising your responses. To give you an example about how you can implement the flowchart process into answering your questions, I'm going to refer to category 1, which is tourist attractions, and I'm going to look at question 1B. Now that question is describe your services and facilities. So the first step in our flowchart is to read the question. The second stage is to actually highlight the key words. You'll see on the slide that I've actually underlined 3 key words. I've underlined describe, I've underlined services, and I've underlined facilities. So what we've done is we've read the question, thought about the question, and then highlighted the key words. So what this means is the word describe says to us we need to paint a picture, we need to use lots of words, we need to be descriptive. So this question is asking us to be descriptive about our services and our facilities. When we start to brainstorm our responses, I've provided some examples for you of potential responses that may be included if you're a tourist attraction. So you can see on the slide, we talk about a retail shop, a cafe, souvenirs, children's activities, toilets, car parking, and so on. This is literally a brain dump of information. There is no logical sequence, there is no particular order to the information that we're providing. So what we're doing is we're brainstorming possible answers that could be included in this response. When we have finished brainstorming, we move on to the next phase of our flowchart, which is arranging and prioritising your ideas. Now, in defining services and facilities, one way to consider a service is that a service is often a non-tangible activity that is provided by a business. Think about customer service. It's something that you can't necessarily put your hands on, but it is something that we all provide in our business. Conversely, a facility is often a tangible aspect to our business. For example, a playground. We can physically go out and touch the slippery dip. Toilets, we can physically walk into a toilet block and use the facilities. So in arranging and prioritising your ideas, it's worth considering your definition of a service and a facility. And there's nothing wrong with getting your thesaurus out to work out what do these words specifically mean. And that way you can then answer the question properly. You'll see on the slide that I have broken up what was on the original list into a services section, a facilities section, and then there were some things that I wasn't sure where they actually fitted. Were they a service or were they a facility? And that's okay. The idea of brainstorming is that you will generate lots of information that may or may not fit in the specific question you thought it would. But never fear, because information always can have a home. So don't throw away those ideas, they can be better used elsewhere. It's only once you have arranged and prioritised your information that you then start writing your question.
Receiving feedback from highly skilled professionals in our industry that have been engaged for this process has helped Leeton VIC create its very own point of difference to other visitor information centres, not only in our region but statewide. For the past 4 years that we have been entering this process, I can honestly say that we are now seen by our local residents as a real community hub for events, functions, local producers and a variety of information service needs, and this is something our staff are extremely passionate and proud of.
So let's start to have a look at the actual questions that you're going to be required to answer when you're preparing your Tourism Awards submission. The basis of this presentation is on Category 1, Tourist Attractions within the Inland Tourism Awards. So when you do go to write your actual submission, I encourage you, make sure you download the correct category information for your business, because if you're not a tourist attraction, you may need to answer slightly different questions to what I'll be presenting. In saying that, tourist attractions is the category that has been selected because it has the most common questions across all of the categories.